the grapes. Check this out.
Hello, and welcome back to Youth Group Reunion Tour, the podcast that unpacks the Christian cultural touchstones that you grew up with in the 90s and 2000s. I'm your host. My name is Jared.
And this is Mikey B.
And we've got a little bit of an interesting episode for you here. This is our first time revisiting a subject that we've already done before. Mike, tell us what's special about this episode.
Well, to this date, so this is kind of one of the anniversary ones here, right? Our first ever episode and our most listened to episode, I believe.
Oh, definitely.
Was
quite a bit.
And most commented on Instagram post by the one and only band. Of course, we're talking about Relient K, our first episode, and to some, our best episode. So, it was a good episode, but we really only focused on a few things that we knew, right? We focused on the 90s and 2000s. And so we got to talking to some other people, and we realized there was a whole lot more that we really needed to unpack in discovering Relient K here.
Yeah, so we kind of anticipated a little bit of pushback against us because we only did their first 4 albums. And obviously they've done numerous, I think an additional 4 albums, maybe more than that, but like 4 major releases after that. And so we thought, well, we don't want to release this episode, right after we just did that other one, but it's probably worth coming back and revisiting it and focusing on like their later and more recent work. But we're not experts on that. This was, our first foray for the most part into that. So we went and we found an expert and got her to come on and give her opinion and kind of talk us through like what we should kind of be looking for. Mike, tell us about our guest.
Sure. Our guest, her name is Mandy. She's actually my cousin, but she is the resident Relient K expert. She has a tattoo of it, so I'd say it's pretty serious in terms of the Relient K fandom. This recording, by the way, is from November 2021. So how we started this podcast, we recorded a bunch in our basement in a lot of different ways. So we've learned a little bit as we went along. Luckily, I had to dig this one out from an old non-working computer.
This was a whole endeavor. It took us probably at least 2 hours, right, Mike? And how many computers do we have to look through? Like 3 or 4 hard drives?
Yeah, it was 4 drives. So the old way we used to record is we used to go on our dining room table or in my basement, and I'd have to bring whatever laptops I had. And so if we had 3 guests, I'd have to have 3 laptops. And so it just made things really complicated. Now we do everything on Zencastr, which was a really cool tip from one of our previous podcast guest features that we've been on.
Shout out to Aunt B.
Yep. She really, opened our eyes to some of the technology here in the podcasting world. But it was quite an endeavor. I had to pull an old hard drive from a non-working computer and find what it was named, and finally find that one file that was called speak3.wav. that happened to survive a full system reset.
Because all of the audio tracks were separate, because we were able to find mine and we were able to find Mandy's, but then we couldn't find Mike's, and we had to try and find it, and that's what he had saved under that generic name. But we recovered it, and that is what you're about to hear. So once we're done with our little intro here, it's going to go into what we recorded over a year ago with Mandy, where she kind of talks us through modern day Relient K. And then when that is over, we're going to come back, and we have since listened to all of those albums, and we're going to give our thoughts about, what we thought after we heard from her and kind of went and experienced that for ourselves. So that's kind of the way that this particular episode is going to be formatted.
Well, hope you like it. Enjoy listening to it. If the quality is drastically different, it is what it is. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome back to the Youth Group Reunion Tour podcast. I'm your host, Mikey B.
And I'm Jared.
And we've got a special half episode here for you today.
Who knows? Maybe it'll go long.
Okay, I don't want to cut it short,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of I actually like to be called out on what we're doing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite episodes so far was the Relient K episode.
Right. The first one we ever. This is like the one that we conceived the podcast on.
Yes, we listened back to it. We're like, we think this is pretty good, and since then there's been plenty of more.
We've been trying to get crowd opinions, and by that we mean family and friends.
Yeah, it's the private YouTube link that no one else knows about. That I think there's 21 views on it right now.
Oh,
so
sick!
Hopefully, at the time that you're listening to this on the Patreon, that there's tens of subscribers on it.
Yeah.
Shooting for the moon, and you'll end up among the stars, as they say. So, no, but one of the best things about being able to share it with friends and family is getting their honest takes on it. And Relient K was one of those bands that we knew when we started that we had to do something about Relient K. They just were so pivotal in that youth group music scene. I can't think of a more youth groupy band. And I happened to run into someone this past weekend, and she happened to say that Relient K was her favorite band. And so I said, hey, you know what?
Hey, you're in our target demographic.
Yeah, that's a perfect target demographic. And it happened to be my cousin, actually. My cousin Mandy told me, yeah, Relient K is my favorite band. And I have some things to share about that episode that I'd like to share with you. And so we happened to make it work thanks to the magic of the internet and free time. We have on the call for our guest here to talk about Relient K and other things. My cousin,
so everyone that's been clamoring for us to discuss anything after the album, this is that opportunity. This is what's going to happen.
We have called in the expert witness, and so without further ado, please welcome to the podcast my cousin Mandy.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's an honor to join you.
Of course. This is great.
This really is the big time. I mean,
yeah.
I know Oprah and Ellen and the Joe Rogan podcast are all booked, but, hopefully you can slot us in there.
Yeah.
So can you give us a quick rundown of like your Relient K like credentials? Like when did you maybe like first hear about them or get interested in them? Like, have you like been to any shows? Have you ever met, stuff like that? Like, tell us a little bit about how your history with the band.
Of course. So again, being another one of those youth group kids growing up, and having a brother and a couple cousins who are a number of years older than I am. They really, whether or not I want to admit it, had a lot of influence on me growing up. And I think it was around early 2000s when my brother and Mike here would start bringing home some of this like classic youth group nostalgic music. And I started to kind of, latch on to that as well, because I was listening to it a lot with my brother. And then by the time that I was coming up into youth group myself, I still had a lot of that under my belt. And
can we get a quick, roughly what's the age difference between you and Mike, roughly?
Yeah, I think it's close to 6 years.
It is 6 years, Mandy.
Okay.
I was hoping that you didn't say something
I'm
drastic.
1 year younger than Mike.
Yeah.
So
I'm the old man in the
room. So
growing
up, it's been nice having like a number of cousins and a brother who I was close enough in age with that it wasn't like some like wild age gap, but like close enough that it's kind of propelled me into like being a little, and I say this with a grain of salt, but a little bit more mature at times. But
Mike is making a face. Mike is making a face right now.
Huge flex.
And I say that with a grain of salt because I know that I'm one of the biggest goobers on the face of this planet. But like it's been nice having a close relationship with like the four of us growing up, because it was always like I had two extra siblings.
So
But
I don't think we've ever mentioned Mike has a sister,
I
which
do.
is and then Mandy's brother.
Yeah.
So Tony and Sarah,
Right.
which I don't think we've ever mentioned Sarah. I think we've mentioned Tony in passing before.
Probably. Yeah.
But those are the four that she's talking about for anyone that was curious where that fourth person came from.
the Phantom Fourth just kind of blubbering about seamlessly. But because of the three of them growing up, I really got introduced to a lot of like Hawk Nelson and Toby Mac and Relient
artists
K
on
when they were
Guitar
first getting
Praise,
into the
by the way.
scene.
Yeah, those are both on the short list of
Yeah.
bands that we need to do an episode about for sure.
Yeah, so all of the good classic stuff that like really helped shape our generation of the kids in our age bracket growing up in the youth group, and really started digging into. I think it was around the two lefts don't make a right era is when I started really latching on.
That was the first album that I had.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was back in the day when Mike was on his, like, let's burn all of these CDs and share them with everybody ever.
Allegedly.
Allegedly burn these CDs from Kazam.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations is not
where
over
they
for
came
that.
from. I just know that they were shared.
My
Justin
lawyer has
Timberlake's
informed me.
character from The Social Network was getting them out to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I, like, first was introduced, was through Mike and his sister and my brother. And there was a period of a couple of years when my brother, being the loving, doting soul that he is, kind of started like poking fun of me in like the loving older brother way that I still like was really into these guys, and like he would make fun of me every now and then. I'm just like, Tony, back it up. I'm just doing my life, okay?
And how long ago was this? Was it did Tony kind of get off of him around the time Benich and I kind of did, or was?
Yeah, it was around that time that you guys were kind of backing up when I was starting to lean in a little bit more, and so I felt like for a little bit I had to love him from under the table so that Tony couldn't jab me about it. And just because of life can be crazy and how they can latch on to music sometimes, and just being able to see them develop as a band over the years. Unfortunately, it wasn't until 2017 that I was able to see them play live for the first time. And
where was that?
It was the Alive Fest out in Canton, Ohio. I was
okay, cool,
living out that way for the summer, and somebody had told me, they're like, Mandy, Relient K is coming to Canton. I was like, funny.
Their hometown.
Yeah,
I'm like the homecoming show.
Yeah, I'm like, that's wild because I live here, so let's do it. And I had a friend who was working security for the main stage for that show, like he normally does. And he comes up to me and he's like, Mandy, do you want to be in VIP? And I look at him dumbfounded. I'm like, please. And he gets little 5 foot something Mandy into like this muddy area right in the middle of like the VIP section, and I'm absolutely losing my mind, like as you do, and just having a ball.
That's awesome.
So this was actually kind of what inspired this, Mandy, but can you sort of explain the Buffalo thing to those of us? It's not something that I was aware of until I talked to a super fan, but can you explain the significance of the Relient K Buffalo and what it means to you personally?
Yeah. So last spring, I think it was April of 2021, they released an album of a bunch of live recordings from shows over the last, I want to say 5 or so years of just like on and off tours. And on the cover of this album, you can find it on Spotify. It is this big plexiglass buffalo that they had allegedly, the story goes, they found this thing in a dumpster on tour and took it and just takes it with him everywhere they go. And back when like it was like
is it life size?
I wouldn't say it's a life size. It's maybe 6 feet tall,
Okay.
7 feet tall at the shoulder. It's big enough that you can't miss it. And every time they go on tour, they like take this thing with them and put it on stage somewhere.
It's not like a
And-
crowd surfing type of thing where like a Steve Aoki throwing the cake into the audience. It's more of like a
To hit a kid in a wheelchair.
yeah.
Real quick, if anyone hasn't seen this, Steve Aoki is an EDM artist, very famous. He does a thing. I don't know if he does it anymore. I think he said it was hurting his shoulder.
I don't think anymore.
But he used to throw a sheet cake, like a full sheet cake, into the crowd.
Oof.
All right. And he would just like launch it as far as he could. There's a video of there was this kid that was in a wheelchair. It might have been a man. I don't know. It was someone in a wheelchair, and the crowd like picked him up in the wheelchair and was like crowd surfing him. And he like wanted to be hit in the face. And so, but he was like really far away. And so Steve Aoki just like launches back and throws this sheet cake, and it hits this dude right in the face. It's amazing. Look it up on YouTube. It's insane.
But my point is nothing like that. It was more of like a stage decoration and not like a crowd.
It's not interactive.
It's very much so a prop. But for a while, when they first like had this thing with them, they named it. It was like the Dermite Mabato or something, and like they made its own Twitter account and its own like Instagram account. Like they're not active anymore on it, but the fact that it's still nebulously floating around out here is just, right up my sense of humor.
Yeah.
But it's really become like one of their like mascots, like almost like an icon for them is this plexiglass whatever buffalo that they take on tour with them.
Do they ever like refer to it during shows, or is it just simply just like in the background, like for people to see? Or do they ever like announce the band and they'll like announce that as like a member
or
of the
like
band
bring him out for the encore? One more song and
or like
buffalo just
gets up on him and like I don't know.
To my understanding, again, it's a very limited understanding, but it's just kind of there, just hanging out. But there are plenty of photos floating around the internet of this thing if you're ever so inclined. But when I saw them in Canton a couple summers ago, they brought back one of their old drummers, Dave Douglas, that was on board with him. I want to say from which album was he? It was early on that Douglas came on. He's also like a local guy.
It sounds familiar. That name sounds familiar.
I think he was on album number
he was,
2.
Yeah.
I think Dave Douglas came on around 2001 for Anatomy, and then left around the Bird and the B-Sides era in 2008, right around there.
So we had him the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like the core,
and
for our
definitely influenced their sound in a lot of ways. It's interesting for me to go back and to see his like little like nuances that make him unique as a drummer. And then around Forget Not Slow Down in 2009 is when they brought in Ethan Luck from the OC Supertones. And that really, really like changed their like part of their sound change and the direction of their changing. But when they were touring in 2017, this buffalo was just chilling up on stage by the drum set. And I'm just like, this is like the coolest thing. I have like a straight shot view of this. Their longtime producer, Mark Lee Townsend, was sitting on guitar for that show. And they saw that I had my like little junky Canon or Nikon DSLR I was shooting with, and was interacting with me and just like letting me do my thing from like a little mud puddle down on the ground. But I because I had found such like refuge almost in like listening to some of their early stuff, and even nowadays being able to go back and like keep up with their solo projects and everything, I really latched on to the Buffalo idea because it's like so uniquely them. But I went to go ahead.
I was gonna maybe this is what you're getting to. Mike had told me that you had a tattoo of this buffalo.
I do indeed. Yeah, The girl that I usually like have design my tattoos for me, I'm like, hey, like, listen, this is what I'm thinking. Could you do something? And she's like, I specialize in botanicals. I don't know how I feel
You should have
about
done the
this.
album.
So
It would have been
I
perfect.
went to, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I went up to my tattoo artist and like, dude, listen, like this was the vision I had. This is like the image I'm basing it off of. And he's like, okay, took a digital copy that I sent him and then did a single continuous line drawing of this buffalo, stenciled it on, and I'm like, this is perfect. This is like exactly what I was hoping for. It's simplistic enough that it's nothing like crazy, and like it's small enough that it's easily hidden, but like it's them enough
If this
to be
isn't
like,
too much of a personal question, can I ask
no.
where on your body it is?
Yeah. This particular tattoo is like on my hip, like on my back. So like it's totally appropriate, like placement wise, but like it's easily hidden enough to like not have to worry about in like a professional setting either.
That's pretty cool. So, do you have any other? And it sounds like you have other tattoos. Do you have any other ones that are, related to, like another band or something like that you like, or is it just? I know you mentioned that presumably you have some sort of flower or nature tattoo.
Yeah. The only two other ones I have at the moment is a small olive branch and a small daisy on either arm. I'm working on getting to the point where like I like have more tattoos, like slowly, but nothing else that's band related. I was joking with Michael's sister this last weekend, like, oh, like how cool would it be if I got like a Zeppelin angel tattoo? And like she just like looks at me and I'm just like, maybe that's just a cool idea to me, and maybe it's a good idea that I'm not actually going through this just yet, but
Mike, quick question: how many podcast listens do we have to get for you to get some sort of a Christian pop culture tattoo? Because Mike has no tattoos.
I have
to my
0
knowledge.
tattoos. Yes.
Is that something if we like, let's say, I'll set it high. Like, what if we had like 1 million listens, like collectively, not to one episode, but like across to all? Would you ever consider getting, some sort of a tattoo?
I'm not taking it off the table.
Yeah.
What
Patreon tier is that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if someone wants to donate to that Patreon tier, it'll have to be pretty significant because obviously it's kind of a big deal, and obviously we want this to have some legs here. But yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really thought of it. If I had to like rank my tier list of like tattoos, like out of the episodes we've done so far, I probably would put Jesus Didn't Tap in the running.
Would you get Jesus Didn't Tap across your shoulders, like across your shoulder blades, like a football jersey, like a name, but it's Jesus Didn't Tap.
I was more thinking like the lip tattoo.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like how you can kind of
like the Norma Jean tattoo.
Exactly like the Norma Jean tattoo. Yeah.
So, the Norma Jean tattoo we're talking about, we saw Norma Jean when we were in high school. Norma Jean is a super hardcore Christian band, and they had tattoos on the inside of their lips. And that, like, if you like, we saw them at a show one time and asked them to show us, and the guy like pulled his lip down to show us the tattoo. So that's what Mike is saying he would get, is the inside of his lip.
Right. the most professional place to get a tattoo.
Probably also, speaking as someone who has a tattoo, Mandy, I think it would probably hurt a lot to get a tattoo on the inside of your lip.
It probably would, but
because one, they'd have to hold it out there for that long while they did it.
Man. They also fade so fast on the inner lip. Like inside of your lip and the fingers always age a lot faster.
A lot of wear and tear in there.
Yeah.
All right, so think about this. We'll get a Patreon tier going. If we get 1 million views and a certain amount of money, Mike will get a tattoo on the inside of his lip that says Jesus Didn't Tap. or JDT?
I'm not committing to it, but I'm open to the possibility.
Okay.
If the fans demand it, blow up the Discord and get that tweet to 10,000 likes or whatever.
Maybe we'll end up regretting bringing me on someday. I'll make this happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
I know a guy. I know a guy who knows a guy.
If I have to worry about it, then I'm okay with that. That's a good problem to have. Trying to figure that out. So I want to bring this back to Relient K.
Sorry, I
a
didn't
bit.
mean
No,
to
that's
derail
okay.
us. I just needed to get that in while we were vaguely on the topic of tattoos.
Yeah, no, that's great. So
Don't sound so enthused. Mike.
Yeah, that's great. I'm just really thinking that it would be hilarious if I set the bar how sometimes people would be like 1 like and I'll do it. It's
you actually want to do it. You're just trying to find a reason to do
right.
it.
It's
and then you tell Leanne hey, I have to do it. I said it on the podcast.
Yeah. I'm just envisioning oh well, I got 1 like from the Discord and it's our alt account.
It's my personal account.
You're signed in. No, that'd be hilarious. So about Relient K, though, I was curious, Mandy, if you had to recommend, you brought up solo projects, and I'm really not at all familiar. I know Matt Thiessen had a solo project. Presumably there are others out there. I guess if you had to maybe pick a song or an album that, for someone who is maybe really into it for the first 4 albums and then sort of dropped off, is what would you say would be a highlight that we should definitely check out?
Either one of those later albums that we missed out on or side project that they did.
Yeah. Personally, out of their later stuff, I realized that I listened to Air for Free that they released in 2016 a lot, which is, again, a lot of mainly Thiessen and Hoops together. And then again, when they tour, they, depending on where they are, they bring in old bandmates, like Hoops or not Hoops, Douglas and Mark Lee Townsend, and just a good eclectic group of guys that know the music. But as far as independent stuff goes, I know that I want to say it was closer to 2 years now. Thiessen had released a single album called from the band Matthew Thiessen and the Earthquakes, and it definitely has some more along the lines of vibes of Lord Huron and a little bit of his own take on a more folksy Americana.
So for a second, I thought you were going to say Lord, and I was like, whoa. No. I was like, I got to listen to this.
That's crazy.
Right now.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would be.
Yeah. It's good, but I really have to be in the mood for that album myself. It's definitely a very more along the vibes, for lack of a better word, along the lines of Air for Free, but with more of his own take on a style. And then Dave Douglas and his wife actually own up in Cleveland a recording studio. I can't remember what it's called offhand.
Let's record an episode there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Please. Can I please get done stacking books?
Hey,
on our
my cousin
table?
told me about you guys.
Call them in and don't tell them what's recording. Just hey, we have some sort of a problem.
We're talking about you. Sorry.
Test this mic and tell us the story about when you were in a band real quick.
Yeah. But he and his wife released a few short EPs under the band name Attack Cat, who over the last few years I've really gotten into because they are very heavy on the pop punk, very punk in how they come across. Their sound is very very what I'm here for is Attack Cat. So if you are along the lines of appreciating more of their punk aspects, definitely check out Attack Cat, and it'll fulfill all of your wildest dreams of reliving your angsty punk days.
That's it. It really is kind of making a pop punk comeback.
Mm-hmm.
So Mandy, as someone who is self-professed that Relient K is their favorite band, is there a particular song or even let's say album that you connect with really deeply, that either like, has like moved you to tears or felt like it really spoke to you on some level or got you through some sort of a difficult situation or something like that? Is there anything that comes to mind in that regard?
Yeah. And again, going back to some of the earlier stuff, like I have some very fond memories of being like a goofy little like teenager running around with like and two lefts and anatomy of tongue in cheek. But the last, I want to say 5 or so years, I've really found myself latching on to Collapsible Lung and Air for Free. Air for Free more so.
And these are albums, correct? Not
Yeah,
singles.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, we're just trying to get the lay of the land here.
So, my apologies, yeah.
No, that's okay.
But the album Air for Free, I listened to this album to the point where like the summer I was living out in Canton, like I listened to the crap out of this album. And like it, because again, I've always kind of used music as like a way to keep myself grounded.
Was that the tour they were doing when you saw them? Was it that album?
Yes, it was around that album. But on that album in particular, like there was like one of their songs, it's called Mrs. Hippopotamuses, and it's just an ode to Northeastern Ohio, which is like always kind of makes me feel cool. Like, oh, like, I know like what they're talking about there. I understand this. I can relate to that. And just like being able to explore that album for me and like really use it to like help come to the reality of like the next 2 years of my life are going to be changing rapidly, and being able to use like a lot of like some of what they're talking about is like, hey, this is all gonna work itself out. We're good. And some of like the internal struggles are like normal for reckoning with like certain like life challenges. But in particular, off of that album that summer, I had dated a kid on and off for a number of years. And there's one of the songs off of this album is like a heartbreak song. And this kid just out of nowhere like ghosted me near the end of the summer. And I was driving back to my house out in Canton. And of course, I'm listening to this album and the song comes on. And I'm just like, it hits me in the feels, like right in the right way. And I'm like, dang it. I didn't sign up for crying at a stoplight at 10:30 at night, but here we are. You know, yeah, like everybody's favorite experience.
Except yours was Carly Rae Jepsen, I'm sure.
Mine was, I used to be a substitute teacher. I was on my way to substitute teach in middle school. I'm sitting at a stoplight right outside Niles Middle School, right?
Mm.
I'm 30 seconds away from being there. And I was listening to All Too Well by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And I started crying. Unprompted. I'd heard the song many times before. I love that song. But that one in particular, just sometimes when it hits right,
Yeah, when it hits you the right way. Yeah. It's surprise, I'm here. Like, good to see ya.
Yeah. Call me up again just to break me like a promise. I was like, no, how could you do this?
Yeah, no, I think Relient K was.
Dang it, Jake, why would you do this?
So speaking of failed relationships, I have to get your hot take on this, Mandy. Some people would say that Katy Perry and Matt Thiessen are the original power couple that could have, should have, would have been, only if circumstances were different. There are other people that say, like, I can't believe that those two dated, and that would be absolutely a train wreck that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. In terms of that,
worse than Russell Brand. There's no way Matt Thiessen is
honestly though.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
If someone wants to make the argument that Orlando Bloom is better than him, sure. There's no way Russell Brand is.
So where do you stand on this debate, Mandy? Because we can go back and forth about this forever. You're obviously familiar with the Katy Perry connection, right? You listened to the previous podcast.
What was her name at the time? Katie what?
Katie Hudson.
Katie Hudson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dixon, Hudson, same difference.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Something.
I feel like I remember hearing about that whole thing like years ago, even after it happened. I'm like, You know, the fact that this even happened feels like it's like some weird
Fever
like
dream.
yeah, and it's like what is going
Like
on
a flip
here?
side episode.
But I'm not sure if she went off the deep end because she had to with her career, or went off the deep end because she was crazy from the get go. But a little scandal can't hurt anybody in that respect.
There were some scandals, and I didn't want to speculate in the last episode, but I want to sort of brush past that because I don't like speculating about people's personal lives that I know nothing about. But he is married now. Is that your understanding? Or
yes, I don't know who the girl is, and I don't think he's been like overly like public with it for. I would assume for like their privacy, for her privacy, which I totally respect. But
so when you were growing up, did you have a crush on Matt Thiessen?
I plead the fifth on this one.
What about Matt Hoops? Is he more your style? He's a brunette, right?
Definitely on the shorter end. I can't say no to a good short guy.
Hey,
he's also taken now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're also way older, and that would just be a train wreck in and of itself.
That is true. That there was pretty significant. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's okay to have a crush.
You're saying a dude in his late 20s and early 30s shouldn't date like 14-year-old? That's good advice.
Yeah,
generally good advice. I'm just more from a crush perspective, right? Yeah. People are crushing on
legal
Justin
advice
Bieber
with Mandy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But tune in next week to see what kind of no stuff I give you.
Well, you'd be surprised, to be honest. There's a weird recording industry out there. That's just stay safe out there, kids. But I have some trivia questions for you, and I figured as a super fan,
I didn't know about this. I want to play too.
Yeah, okay. So we'll have super fan Mandy versus early fan Jared.
Casual fan.
And so these came to us from a loyal listener. Actually, I don't know if they've ever heard the podcast before, but I found them from RK Fan Lover at funtrivia.com. So I hope these are accurate. So I shamelessly cribbed these trivia questions from RK Fan Lover.
All right.
So the first question, and I will pass this. So how will we do this? I guess
let me get first crack at all of them because I'm less likely to know. I think, and then if I
very
can't,
high hopes.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do 3 questions and then a tiebreaker. Does that sound fair?
Sure.
All right. So question number 1 for Jared: what VeggieTales song did Relient K?
Pirates Who Don't Do Anything.
Correct. 1-0. All right, Mandy. Question 2. Your question 1, I guess. In a hidden track, what candy does Relient K sing about?
Skittles.
Pepperoni.
Skittles. See also combos.
Yes, very good. That is correct. The lyrics are: deny us combos, refuse us Skittles. I admit those words hurt a little. Which hidden track is that from? Is that from Two Lives?
That's a question for Mandy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that one.
Part of me wants to say it's coming off of Bird and the B-Sides, one of their songs. I'll look it up for you. I'll let you know.
No, that's okay. I'll use it as a tiebreaker. So I have that on record. So we'll see if you're right. All right. So Jared, finish this line, Bible quizzing style.
All right.
People make mistakes. We took the blank from the blank.
Apple from the snake.
Correct.
Yes.
That is for a bonus point. Can you name the song?
Nope. I merely used my knowledge that those roughly rhymed and that they're a Christian band. And I'm going to guess. Hold on. Are there multiple choices of songs? Okay. I'm going to guess it's from the one that Mandy just name dropped, the Birds and the B-Sides.
Incorrect.
Okay, nope, no idea.
No, Mandy, do you want to steal?
Oh, actually, I'm going to guess it's from one of their earlier ones. I'm going to guess it's from their first album.
Mandy, can you name the song?
It's Maybelline, right?
It is correct.
Ugh.
All right. So
I still get that point though. She just gets another point.
sure,
Right? Okay.
yeah. So it's 2-2 with
Okay.
Mandy having advantage now.
Okay.
Right. So
Should have
all right.
known that. Should have brushed up before I came over here.
That's good. Mandy to take the lead. All right. That one's too easy. How about this one? In one of Relient K's songs, their friend's favorite pair of pants gets cut off. What song is the name of that instance? What is the name of this song? Their friend's favorite pair of pants get cut off.
It's, off the top of my, it's off of some of their earlier stuff.
You are correct. Yes.
Gosh, is it It's Staples.
Oh,
right?
you did it. It is Staples. I hope you're not Googling with your phone there, Mandy. It is a violation of Christian ethics.
She would never.
Okay. I don't want to accuse, but, I can't see. I'm not moderating this test. I have no dog in this fight, but it is officially 3-2, Mandy.
I am not cheating. I can give you my Scouts, not real Scouts honor.
No, that's okay.
Not
all right.
existent.
Pioneer Girls honor.
Yeah. My
right.
Bible school honor, I guess.
Yes. So it's 3-2, Mandy. And so question number 3, Jared. What fictional character is Matt Thiessen in love with?
I'll guess Chitara.
That is incorrect.
Dang it. I thought Lion-O was going to help me here.
Yeah, no, that could be good. Mandy, do you want to steal?
I'll be honest with you. This is one of those 80s references that's a little beyond my years. I would want to say. Because I also thought, Jared, that it was one of the Lion-O characters, but...
The answer, according to RK fan lover at funtrivia.com, it says the correct answer is Nancy Drew.
Nancy? Okay, that's not even remotely close. I'll take it, though.
Emma Roberts. Interesting.
I think they have a song that probably says I'm in love with Nancy Drew or something like that.
Gosh,
that's what that's from. Yeah, so we are still 3-2?
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right. So, Jared, here we go.
I think that was mine, and I missed it.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. So this was question. I'm getting.
And then you gave her the chance to steal. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah. That's right. That's right. All right. So, question for Mandy. Question number 3. During What Have You Been Doing Lately, they name a girl whose life, quote, got so messed up. What is her name?
For some reason, my brain is going Stacy, like Stacy's mom, but that's completely something else.
It is something else.
Not a bad guess though, because lately and Stacy are like close enough that they might try and get away with that as a rhyme. I don't know.
And this is an early Relient K song as well, so I'm definitely trying to, ask you questions that you're not good at on purpose.
Yeah. At this point, I wouldn't be able to, with honor, say what it is without Googling it.
I'm gonna guess Haley. Is it Haley?
It is not Haley.
Dang it.
The correct answer is then there's Vanessa. Her life got so
messed up.
Yep. Can you finish the next bar?
I can't.
You just can't get along. Her emotions, they can't just cope because she's lost all hope. All right. Question. This is the last question.
Last one for me.
Last one for Jared. How many CD covers were there for the album Two Lefts Don't Make a Right, but Three Do? There were alternate covers, recall.
So I believe that there were 5 because there were 4, and then there was a platinum edition that was the blue one that had all the 4 cars on it of the different colors.
Correct.
Yes,
you are correct.
I have that CD.
It is
That's how
5.
I knew it. That's how I knew.
Awesome. Jared, very good. It is now 3-3. Okay. This is going to be a tough question.
Moment of truth.
This is a serious die-hard thing. So, Mandy, this is the final question. This is a very deep cut, but they went on a tour in 2003 with the following bands. What?
How old were you in 2003, Mandy?
Maybe 7.
Okay.
Anyway, go on.
All right. Well, now I feel
Don't do
bad.
it. Come
All
on.
right.
She might
All
know.
right. Can you name one of the bands that they toured with on this 2003 tour?
I think that's reasonable.
There are 4 of them.
She's got a decent chance of
Yes.
this.
And for a bonus point, name the tour.
Oh gosh. You know what? That's a really tricky question. I can't even remember what I had for dinner last week. Nonetheless, something that happened almost 20 years ago.
Now, you can probably use some deductive reasoning on this, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Some of them may be unexpected. Some, might not be. But I think you're a Relient K fan, you can reverse engineer at least one of these.
You know, I'm ashamed to say that I don't know without having to Google it.
No, just you got to name a band from that era. Do it.
I know that they lately have been touring with Switchfoot a lot, so that's
not a bad guess.
Not a bad guess. Okay, Switchfoot. Jared, do you have a guess?
I'll guess Skillet.
Okay.
Or Cutlass.
Neither of those are correct.
I can keep guessing, I guess.
I'm going to flip that over to Mandy again because it is a tie,
okay.
right?
Yeah. It's tied 3-3. So we're just going to guess till one of us gets it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, Mandy, your turn. Try again.
Hawk Nelson. That was another very in-brand.
Yes, good guess, but Hawk Nelson was a little bit later.
I was going to say they weren't around.
True. I just kind of, yeah.
All
right.
1,000-foot crutch.
Oh, man. You guys are getting so close, but it is not 1,000-foot crutch. Mandy?
Jars of Clay?
Nope.
No, they were a little earlier, weren't they?
Yeah, and a little more acoustic mainstream rock.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Who's around then? Not DC Talk. They were already broken up.
Nope. That's
not. Probably not Toby Mac because it's not the same type of music.
I want to give you a hint so bad. And
Newsboys.
Nope, not Newsboys. I think Newsboys would have been too big.
Well, no, because I was like, DC Talk.
Oh, that's
broken
true.
up.
That's true.
And then Michael Tate went to the Newsboys,
That's
I
true.
guess. So that was my thought, is maybe that was.
Yeah, my dad in the 70s, he saw Aerosmith open for Queen, which is like a very fascinating, bill there, but it's not quite on that level.
Okay.
So I'll pass it to Mandy.
Oh gosh.
Oh, okay. I got another. I got one in the bank for after.
Again, this is around the time where everything is just kind of mushing together.
Of course, yeah. That's
memory wise. Could it have been Fireflight? Is that a thing that could have happened?
No, not there.
Audio Adrenaline.
No, not Audio Adrenaline, but that was a good
night.
pick. I can't believe you haven't said this.
Ugh.
I'm really shocked now, Mandy. We're going to do one more round, and I'm just going to give up on this question.
Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family. Golly.
Here's what I will say. I'm not trying to, swing it in her favor, Jared. So you got to believe me here.
Okay.
Think about common collaborators with Relient K.
Okay, I think I know what the guess might be, but
okay.
I don't.
Sure. Go ahead, Mandy.
What? Wait, could it have been the OC Supertones?
OC
Dang
Supertones.
it, that was my guess.
Yes, OC Supertones. Here's
another night, another show.
Yeah, that's right. That song was ballin'.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, it must be the OC Supertones since we just talked about this.
And there's another one, John Rubin, who also had a song with Relient K.
Golly.
Yes, Nuisance. That song was amazing.
I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah, I thought you might have been able to deduce that, hey, John Rubin did a song with Matt Thiessen.
Nuisance, yeah.
The other two, you were really on track with TFK. Pillar.
Pillar.
If you remember Pillar.
I guess Skillet. Cutlass.
Yes.
I was right.
They were
Killer
so-
would have been the
yes.
obvious, the next obvious
I
choice.
know they would have been so
Yeah.
into that, and Sanctus Real. They were definitely more low
Is it
key.
not Sanctus Real?
Is it Sanctus Real?
I don't know.
I always said Sanctus.
Tweet at us and tell us who pronounced it wrong.
Sanctus Real. And the name of that tour was C Spot Rock. So I feel good about that. I'm going to give the edge to Mandy. Do we want to do one more?
I mean, she won. She won 4-3.
Yeah.
She stole that one from me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I'm saying you obviously have the edge.
Yeah.
Well, all of mine were super easy.
Yeah. This is the last one that is kind of interesting. I didn't know this one. There's a person in the band who has a nickname. And it's Matt Thiessen. And I want to know if you know what Matt Thiessen's nickname is.
Got two guesses.
Okay.
Andy can go first, and she probably knows it.
Part of me wants to guess Spaghetti Jones based off his Instagram handle,
Okay.
but I also have a feeling that is very much so incorrect.
That's just hilarious. But
yeah.
Jared, do you have a guess?
My guess
Is
is
it Spaghetti Jones?
my guess is Hollywood
No.
or Sunshine.
No.
Nope. Based on his hair, based solely on his blonde curly surfer.
Glorious mane.
No. According to RelientKClub.deviantart.com, last updated September 10th, 2008, Matt Thiessen's nickname is apparently the White Rose. Does that ring a bell for anyone?
Unfortunately, not.
Well, it is what it is. But Matt Thiessen has also been a guest vocalist on tracks such as Switchfoot's Rebuild, John Rubin's Nuisance, House of Heroes. Recall that the drummer for House of Heroes is now in 21 Pilots.
Mm-hmm.
The Folds, I Believe You. He guest vocaled
Guitarist
on
a Katie Hudson music video.
Very true.
He just released a single with, Fangs this year. A collaborated single with Fangs as well.
Oh, I thought of something I wanted to ask Mandy.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Hey, Britney's free. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
I wonder, because we've heard that some Christian artists after many years or whatever have like gone into like more adult themes, or have had like cursing in some of their songs and stuff as they got older. I wonder, are there any Relient K songs where they cuss? Are there any Relient K songs where they talk about like sex or anything like that?
Yeah. Not that I've picked up on like any like cursing or whatever, but the last few albums they've released, again being Collapsible Lungs,
Sex or anything like that.
Forget Not Slow Down and Air for Free. Those three albums in particular really goes into exploring more themes of like heartbreak, and it's just the reality of like, wow, this like really is like tough. Like I still have to like see remnants of you when I'm hanging out with my friends, or like
watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and just especially it has been a shift I've noticed thematically, going from like just like writing funny songs for the sake of writing funny songs to like this is the reality of life sometimes, and this is how like I'm choosing to go about rebounding from like some of the struggles I've been like tossed my way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
interesting.
We talked about that on the podcast a little bit, where we sort of, it was the end of our era when like we bought a Relient K album and there's no hidden track on it. Like the silly songs were fun, but it was also sort of like a weird. They probably grew up at the same time. Matt Thiessen was born in 1980, so he's a little bit older than us.
Yeah,
actually older than I thought.
10 years older than me.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense. We listened to him when we were like 10, 12, 13, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah.
So, Mandy, can you? I know this is maybe would be hard to do, but would you be able to give us like one? Would you be possible to rank all of their albums in order from favorite to least favorite? If that's not possible, can you give us maybe like a top 3?
Oh, I don't think I could do like the ranking per se, but my top 3 as of lately. Good night. That's definitely a good one. Definitely would be just with how I've clung to it again is Air for Free right now is number 1. Collapsible Lung is a second, as a second follow up, and then Anatomy of Tongue in Cheek is definitely up there too. So a toss up between those 3.
Interesting.
Wow.
If you had if you were gonna like recommend to someone like, hey, you can only listen to one Relient K album, and I want you to get an idea of who they are. Like, is there like a quintessential album that you think most like is like the most of them? You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it would be like hard to suggest just one because again, like any like good band that's been around as long as they have, like
They grow and they change, and
there's like a lot
sure.
of like difference between like their self-titled and even Anatomy in comparison to like Air for Free. But I feel like the most like the staple album I would want to say is from 04.
But
Like,
Mike, almost. Yeah,
Gonna have
bleep
to pull that one out.
I cussed a swear.
Here I go, another 2 hours of work. No,
Sorry,
I'm just
dude.
kidding. It's all right.
That was that when we did it. Do you remember? Was that one your favorite? Was that one the one you?
It's hard to say.
I remember.
It feels like it's been a long time. Yeah.
I said I don't think it's their best album, but I think it's my personal favorite. Is
Yeah.
2 Lefts Don't Make a Right.
Yeah.
3 Do.
Yeah.
Which I think, out of the ones we were familiar with, I don't think is their best album, but it was my personal favorite based on my experience with it.
Yeah. I think I might have said Anatomy of the Tongue in Cheek for the same reason, because it was like, I think I remember talking about it was the first album that I heard that was like, wow, this is a Christian band that sounds really different. And like, you can give it to your friends and they like got it right away. And it wasn't like, you didn't have to sort of explain it. It was like, oh wow, this is really interesting and cool. And plus they talk about Lino and all these 80s references that.
And the Sadie Hawkins dance.
And the Sadie Hawkins
Every
dance.
middle school boy's dream, because then you don't have to ask the girl out.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
Here's
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah. Yeah. I just am saying because I just think back to my cringe moment that I, every time we talk about that, I just have to relive that again in my mind.
Yeah.
The moment that I talked about earlier on the cast.
It cannot be as bad as the fact that the college I went to, I was a part of our campus life committee.
You can name drop them if you want to.
Yeah.
And we a couple times decided to have Sadie Hawkins dances.
Really?
And and I'm like,
Did you play the Relient K song at the dance?
What kind of a small Christian campus would we be if we didn't? That's the question.
Did you really? For real?
Yeah. I have media dug deep down in my phone archives from those nights.
So I always like if anyone's ever seen the TV show Community, they always joke.
Good.
They always joke on that they have like an absurd number of dances for their school. But at the school that Mike and I went to, Grove City, we had that many dances every year, and it was like I was like, yeah, that's how many dances you have. Like this is, I didn't think that was weird, and then like in like the 3rd or 4th season, they started joking like we're having another dance, and I was like, you have like 7 dances a year. That's normal.
Well, at Toccoa,
I think there was,
I might have lowballed it there.
Yeah.
That's not counting the unofficial ones.
Those are the ones that I went to,
right?
Not even the ones that were held and I declined.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So at Toccoa, go ahead.
How many did we have?
Oh, you were going to say something, and I cut you off because I'm super loud.
No, I mean, same. So it's good to be in light company. It's refreshing. First off, no worries. But yeah, that sounds about accurate.
To any listeners, if you went to a Christian college, did your college have 1,000 dances every year? And if you went to, a non-Christian like public school or whatever, like a state school or something, how many dances a year did you guys have? Let us know.
And did they play Little John? And did they play the censored version?
Did they play the censored version? And did like 12 people in the crowd yell the uncensored words as loud as possible over the censoring to make the homeschool kids uncomfortable?
That's a very specific question. I wonder why you're asking that very specific question.
Oh no! Whoops.
You're good. No, it sounded fine, other than the loud bang.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, to recap, Mandy, you actually went to a Sadie Hawkins dance and listened to Sadie Hawkins dance. You have a Relient K tattoo. You've been to a concert, and you recommended albums that we have listened to 0 minutes of. And the winner of the first annual Relient K trivia contest. Very exciting stuff.
I don't know how I feel about the fact that reality just kind of hit me right here. So,
you know what?
Yeah.
So we do a little bit on the show. So if you do win the trivia contest, you get a free promotion or plug. And so I thought this was going to be a short episode, but we're coming up on an hour.
This is a full real episode. Let's go.
We're running it back. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity, Mandy. If you had, people sometimes will plug their business or a music project
their
or
social
things
handles,
like that. Social handles.
Just anything that you like. If you want to plug a Relient K album we've never heard, or another band that maybe we have or haven't heard of, or a movie, whatever you want to plug, whatever you like.
You have earned the right for promotional time, so feel free to use it wisely. It's worth tens of dollars.
10 whole dollars that I did not have before.
Payable only in exposure.
Yes.
Yeah, sweet. I guess if you need portraits done, I am starting up and learning how to do portraits for people. I've had 2 whole clients, so I have some business experience for you. But
awesome. Where can they reach you if someone wants to reach out to you for something like that?
You can find me on Instagram. It's the handle is @sandy.milker.
All right.
And we can have.
Okay. I don't have to explain that one. I guess we'll figure it out when you get there.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, you also have experience with band photography, right? You mentioned Relient K, things like that. So. Don't sell yourself short. You told that story, so I'm sure there are people who will love to listen to your description of you taking photos in audio format.
Maybe we'll try.
This sounds great.
We'll try and get one of those and throw it on our Instagram for when we post about this episode.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah,
I take photos sometimes. Thank you. Can make you look okay.
I'm writing it down in the ideas channel. So.
Sweet. All right. Anything else to plug, Mandy?
Off the top of my head, I don't think I have anything else worth plugging in just yet.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So let's do our plugs now, Mike. We got lots of stuff.
We got lots of
stuff.
Hit 'em with
it.
All right, so this is brand new. Hopefully you'll hear the drop at the top of the section here, but we got a brand new website with all of our links. And it is a Yat. If you're not familiar with Yats, it's the coolest things in the place right now. The cool kids are doing it. It's an emoji website. Yep. And so our emoji, are you familiar with what our emoji is? I have to look it up again.
I'm pretty sure it's cool church raised hands guitar.
Yes, that's
so. There's 4 emojis. They're called cool church raised hands guitar.
Yes.
And they look like a sign that says cool, a church, the praise hands, like you're in your worship praising, and then a guitar.
Yes. So yeah, cool church, praise hands, guitar. If you go to if you have the Opera browser and type that in your browser, it'll automatically bring up all of our stuff, all of our socials, discounts, things like that. The other thing that you can do is go to y.at / those emojis. You can probably find those links in our bio for our other socials, which are at YG Reunion Tour for Twitter, at Youth Group Reunion Tour on Instagram, and do we have one more?
We have a Discord.
Oh, yes, we do.
If anyone wants to join that, it's Youth Group Reunion Tour. I think there's a permanent link possibly on our.
It's on
our
Yat
Yat.
page.
It's on our Yat. Yeah, so you can go there and you could talk to us and tell us that one of us pronounced Sanctus Real's name wrong.
Or you can say that we totally missed the best part of Relient K and we had no idea what we were talking about and simply was incorrect on our trivia questions. So feel free to tell us we're wrong.
Also, if you're RK fan, whatever at something, hit us up.
Yeah, we'll pay you a royalty and exposure. So we're definitely breaking the bank over here. It's a great night to be on a podcast.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's about it. I think we're rocking and rolling. Hopefully.
Wherever you're listening to this, please like us or rate us, preferably 5 stars, but we'll take whatever rating we can get.
Yeah, and make your review funny and interesting.
Yeah, if you roast us good, maybe we'll read it on air.
Yeah, shout us out in the comments on YouTube. Go ahead and comment on Relient K's stuff and say, "Hey, I just heard you on a podcast."
Yeah,
just
tweet at them. Tweet at them. Let's see if we get one of the mats on here.
Yes, as if that was how they discovered Relient K through a podcast with 20 listeners.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, I've never heard of them before, but I had to go check them out.
Hey,
so
Mandy's that good.
That's right.
He's that good of a hype man.
We are really pulling out all the stops. No, this was really fun, Mandy. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm very honored.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion with Mandy and the insights that she was able to share with us. So, like I said, since that time, we've had some big developments. The biggest, I think, is that since doing that recording with Mandy, I have been to see Relient K live. So they, as we have mentioned before, hometown heroes, right? They're from, I think they're from Canton.
That's correct. Yep.
So not very far away from where we live. And on their most recent tour, they came through and played at the House of Blues in Cleveland. And my wife and I went to see them. And it was a really fun concert. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was, I haven't been to too many shows at the House of Blues, but I think it was the most crowded I've ever, been to a show there. Because I've been to see a few other acts there, but this was by far the most crowded. And one of the things that was kind of strange, I guess, is that their opening act is not what I would have expected their opening act to be. For example, I know there was this one song that this woman was singing and she said the F word in it. And I was like, all right. It's not expecting that to be Relient K's opener, but okay. I feel like you could definitely tell that they were, it was an interesting mix of people, I would say, that were there, because there was a lot of people like, me that were definitely in middle school, like when Relient K was popular. But then there was also, some younger kids that were I assume maybe like a youth group or something that kind of came or people like that. Mandy was at the show as well. I didn't see her, but we were sharing pictures and stuff on Instagram afterwards. And she I think she was down on the floor, and because we're old, we were up in the balcony.
You didn't want to mosh to Relient K? I'm shocked.
No, but we actually got pretty sweet seats up in the the balcony. We were in the first or second row of the balcony, because it's pretty much at the House Blues. You just kind of sit wherever you want, wherever there's a seat. And we just happened to get those. And we had a really great view of the show. They put on a really excellent show. I enjoyed it a lot. They played a lot of songs that that I knew, and then a few that I didn't. But I would say, for the most part, even the songs that I didn't know at the time, I really enjoyed. It was not like, oh, I don't know this song, this sucks, and I was able to find a few songs that I went and added to my Spotify favorites afterwards. So here's the set list. According to setlist.fm, this is the set list that was played at the show that I went to.
Do you have the date of that, by the way? Was that March or April of
It was March 27th, 2022.
That makes sense. I was not able to go to that because I was in Nashville at the time.
Yeah, I remember because I messaged you and I said, hey, we got to go to this. And you said, I'm out of the state.
Yeah.
So here is the set list. I'm just going to read them down in order. So it's Who I Am Hates Who I've Been, High of 75, Bummin', Mountaintop, Which to Bury, Us or the Hatchet, Forget and Not Slow Down, Sahara, and then this is a song that I assume that they could not play at any other venue, but they chose to play it here because, again, hometown heroes. Mrs. Hippopotamuses. It's the song that's basically just like about being from Cleveland or like Northeast Ohio. Then they played Flare, Candlelight, Savannah, Prodigal, God. This is where they got into like a run of things that I did not. I was like, I don't know any of these songs, but I was still having a good time. Then they played I Don't Need a Soul. And then they got into like, all right, we're winding up the concert, so we're going to play the crowd favorites. Here they come. So Sadie Hawkins Dance, Chapstick, Chapped Lips, and Things Like Chemistry. Must Have Done Something Right. This Week the Trend. The One I'm Waiting For. And then they left the stage, and then they came back for their encore. And then for their encore,
pressing on or what? Mood Rings?
No. So, well, Mike, you're missing the biggest song. So obviously there had to be their encore. So they played two songs for their encore. They played Devastation and Reform.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then they played the song that everyone, this is what they came to see. Be My Escape.
Be My Escape. That's what I thought. Yeah. For
so
some reason, I thought you said that already.
No, that was their encore, their closer. It was great. I really enjoyed this concert. It was like a lot of high energy. Like I said, they played, a lot of songs I knew, and then the songs I didn't know, I enjoyed, and quite a few of them I went and kind of looked up afterwards, and have been enjoying since then. It was a really fun concert. They put on a really good show, even for being in probably their 40s now, or at least late 30s. And you can kind of tell that at least Matt Hoops and Matt Thiessen, they're best buds. They played like at one point they were playing like back to back, like he was on the piano, and then Hoops came up on the. I don't remember if he plays the bass or the regular guitar, but they were playing back to back. It was pretty sweet. I got quite a few decent pictures because, like I said, we were pretty close up in the balcony, and it was a really fun show. I wish you could have been there, Mike. It was a good time.
So when I saw Relient K, it was a long time ago. So it probably was around the Two Lefts Don't Make a Right era.
Oh,
I remember them being good. Did Matt play with like a piano most of the time? Like,
yes, he did. I think put on a guitar at a few points and play it, but most of the time he was on a piano or a keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was new to me. Up until that moment, I had never really seen a band have the lead singer mostly be on the piano, which kind of makes sense, right? You want to be playing an instrument, and they do a lot of piano-driven stuff. I just remember that distinctly as like, oh, interesting. Like, how is he going to be the lead vocalist sort of positioned sideways on the stage? You know what I mean? Like, he was facing the other way, which I'd
Yeah,
seen before.
instead of facing the crowd, he just turns his head to the crowd and stuff.
Is that what he did too?
Yeah, that's what he did. He was facing off stage, and when he would have the mic, you'd turn his head and kind of look at the crowd and stuff. And yeah, I mean it was great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I wish I could have been there. Funny note, I guess the Relient K guys, or at least Matt, they live in Nashville now. So that's kind of like the music Hollywood. Yeah, we crossed paths on the highway driving back to Ohio, I'm sure. So I didn't see the Relient K tour bus or anything like that. But, they have a lot of connections to Ohio, obviously, but they do have those connections to Tennessee. I don't think we said this in the last one. I did want to bring it up. Their like main producer, right, Mark Lee Townsend. He used to be the guitarist in DC Talk, and he has a studio out there in Middle Tennessee in Spring Hill. So kind of interesting. It kind of makes sense, but it's just like a very small world of Christian music and things like that. Toby Mac's Goatee Records is out there, so that's where that connection came from.
That was their label for a while. I don't know if it still is, but I know that it was for a while.
Yeah, you get that sweet distribution with Christian bookstores.
One thing I would say is when they played Mrs. Hippopotamus, right? They kind of were like, all right, listen. We're not going to play the whole song, but there's nowhere else we could play this, and we wanted to. And so they basically just did the OHIO part, and then the part about the Cuyahoga River, and everyone in the crowd went nuts. They're like, "Yeah, that's our river that's on fire. Let's go!"
Amazing. Yeah, that's what happens. Ohioans, they love their weird stuff. They, when they see it somewhere, they get really crazy about it.
As a side note, just very quickly, I've been to a few, podcasts that have come through to do shows in Cleveland. And obviously, anytime there's a show in Ohio, the crowd is going to chant OHIO. And every single person from these podcasts, and these are people. So the podcasts were Doughboys, Comedy Bang Bang, and How Did This Get Made? Right, all these people live out in California. They were all befuddled by this chant, as if they were like, "Did you guys plan this ahead of time? How did you know how to do this?" And I was like, I feel like this is a pretty common thing. Like Ohio State is a very large and prominent sports school in both basketball and football, and they do this chant all the time. And I feel like it's not like that strange of a thing to know about the Ohio chant. I mean, am I wrong? Like
Columbus is like the 12th biggest city in the U.S. Like it's not a small.
I thought it was like number 8 or something.
Maybe I was looking at 2012 stats or whatever, but I mean, it's not a small. Like Ohio is bigger than people give it credit for. I think, and a lot of people have Ohio roots. And even if you don't watch college football, things like that, surely you've heard "Hang On, Sloopy," somehow in passing, right? And so it's just
like I said, I was just befuddled. I was like, all of these people. I was like, I mean, maybe you're not from Ohio, but surely you've heard the OHIO chant. It's not that strange, but it's not even that clever necessarily. It's
Californians don't have a chant. They just talk about, California things all the time. So you can tell they're from California because they're like, "Oh man, In-N-Out Burger, you got to try it." It's like, okay, whatever. I'm not a fan, by the way. I can't say I'm a big fan. It's cheap, but Swenson's.
I've never had it, so
Swenson's as good or better with none of the waiting a half hour. Just my hot take on food there.
All right, so Mike, let's go ahead and get into it. So we've listened to the 4 major releases. So we didn't look at least I didn't. I think Mike did. They released a song of an album of covers.
Mm-hmm.
I did not listen to that one. And then they also released an album of B-sides that I did not listen to. So the 4 that I listened to for this are 5 Score and 7 Years Ago, Forget and Not Slow Down, Collapsible Lung, and Air for Free. So, Mike, which ones did you listen to? I think you listened to those plus the cover album. Is that right?
I did, yeah. I listened to mostly Collapsible Lung based on
Yeah.
the recommendation, and then the covers
Yeah.
album, because I'll start off, if it's okay to start talking about this already. I just wanted to
Yeah.
react to the covers album real quick, since
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the one
Go ahead.
that
Yeah, let's do.
is fresh of mind.
Yeah.
I was really impressed at their song selection, just because I like the 90s stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is a podcast that's based on the 90s and 2000s, as
Yeah.
they say. And I expected them to have a ton of 80s songs, right? Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I probably would have guessed it. That
Yeah.
you know,
Africa.
yeah, like that one's a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a curveball, but I can't say I'm wildly surprised. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Again,
That rules.
these
That
were
rules.
mostly songs that were done by the Alvin and the Chipmunks cover. So, that's probably the same era of, hey, it's accessible, it's well known.
Yeah.
Those are the big hits. So I'm not super surprised by those. But some of the highlights, I guess, that I thought were really good, not just as covers, but also as song choices. One Headlight, The Wallflowers. I think that's a great song. I think they did a good version of it, and it sort of fits their more, I guess, less punk direction.
Yeah.
It kind of fit that vibe in some of those later albums. So I thought that was kind of cool. The Distance by Cake, which is
Yeah.
classic. That was good. I still am partial to the original, but they had fun with it, and I feel like it had a little bit of levity to it, which was nice. And the one that I really wanted to highlight that I felt was really out of left field, totally unexpected, was Motorcycle Drive by Third Eye Blind. So that song is like a slow burn, like kind of, I don't want to say angsty, but it's a very almost nostalgic sounding song. It's a good song. It's a really good song, but it's like, lyrically, it's kind of like about leaving your past behind and things like that. But I was really impressed because it's a slow burn song where it starts with this acoustic riff, and then by the middle of the song, if you have a poor attention span, you just skipped it and said, "Oh, this was an acoustic song. Next, sounds boring."
Yeah.
Like halfway through the song, it blows up and it gets really big. And so there's a part towards the end where he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and that was a bad impression.
Hey, good luck editing that.
Yeah. Hey, I stepped away from the mic to breathe in. All right. I tried the best I could. So whatever, I'll send it to, it's my own work. Anyways, so with that yelling that he did, I thought it was cool and out of character. Like, it did not sound like Matt Thiessen. And I always like covers when people can sound like themselves, obviously, but also showcase different parts of their vocal or musical instrumentation. I love the song originally with Third Eye Blind, but I was like, wow, he does a really good version of it that doesn't sound too.
Now, you said that he was doing some screaming. Is it like the screaming he does on "Softer to Me"?
No,
from the original out. No, okay.
I don't think that's him that does the screaming. Anyways, it had to have been a guest vocalist. I'm almost positive.
Okay.
Because if he could do it like that, I think on "Softer to Me" it was pretty good, and if he could do it that well, they probably would have gone in a harder direction.
Yeah, you're saying that they should have gone screamo instead of pop punk.
Well, I'm just saying
if he had the pipes for it.
I'm just saying they could have put screams on Trademark, for example. That song's pretty hard, you know. Like there's a couple songs that they could have done it on. I just think it happened to be some random guy was in the studio was like, "Hey, that would sound sweet," and they came back and they're like, "What's this thing that this guy did?" And they're like, "Oh, I did a scream. It sounded really good. So okay, let's keep it."
Mandy or anyone else that has better knowledge, let us know if that's Matt Thiessen that does the scream on "Softer to Me."
Yeah, no, it wasn't a scream like that though. It was just like more of a yell. I tried my best, on short notice, but it was like a yell. It was great, Mike. It's at the top of his lungs, which he doesn't go there very much, right? Yeah. He's very much falsetto. He's very like stepping off the gas, which sounds good, very pretty, very melodic, things like that. Yeah. But one of the highlights, I guess, in total, and the reason why I brought this up first, because I think it's a good transition point to really showcase, I think, the evolution of Relient K as a pop punk band, primarily of what I knew them as middle school,
Yeah.
to really something that was not quite that in the rest of the songs. And I don't want to say they got softer, because they didn't just turn
Softer to you.
yeah, they just didn't turn into they didn't turn into
Yeah.
Coldplay or anything, right?
Yeah.
But I did kind of notice that instrumentally it was a little bit more pop, a little bit more mainstream rock, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
and less pop punk, fast drums, guitar slides, things like that.
Yeah.
Pick scrapes is the word I was looking for.
So just a real quick recommend yes or no for the cover album.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think it's good, especially for a band that, if you don't know Relient K, I think it's still good and it stands on its own, right? Like the Pump Goes Pop, half the people don't know who those artists are, but they still love those covers. So
yeah. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll go in order from oldest to newest. So starting with 5 score and 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about this in general, Mike?
Well, so I feel like this song was kind of that bridge album, I suppose, between their newest sound and sort of their roots. To me, I don't think it was as strong as the rest of them, and it's kind of where I lost interest, previously. But I can see where there's a lot of appeal, because things like Must Have Done Something Right, Devastation and Reform, those are good tracks, I think, and those are solidly in the Relient K catalog. Not my personal favorite, but I see the mass appeal, and I see the point at which they are. I think we're still on some of their best work there.
What I'll say is, I'll straight up say it was a mistake that we didn't include this album on the first time through, I think.
Yeah.
Because I distinctly remember when this album came out that I was like, oh, I got to go and get this, and got it very soon when it came out. I remember listening to it on the way to drama club, and then I got there, and my the director, she was like really into Relient K too, and she was like, we're listening to the new album tonight, like in between like scenes and stuff, and we had it on. And just going back and listening to it, I just forgot that there were a lot of songs that I really did like and enjoy. Like you said, it's maybe not their best album, but I think there's a lot of really good songs on it that I really liked. The ones that I have written down here is I really liked Come Right Out and Say It.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
I Need You, Forgiven, and Devastation and Reform. And I really enjoyed this album. Re-listening to it, I forgot, I can't believe we left this off the first time through, because it was 2007 when it came out, so it was still like in the right time frame for like what we try to cover and stuff. And I was like, and listening to it, I was like, yeah, I really did enjoy this. I don't know why separated it somehow. Like, if anything, it should have been like the first 5 and not the first 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. I enjoyed revisiting it.
For me, I think as I revisited this as well, in 2007, I guess this felt to me that they were really trying to maybe transition away from their goofy self. And maybe I just wasn't old enough to recognize that. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, they're different. Oh, okay. This is the first song. This is the first album that doesn't have a joke song on it. Like they have some songs that aren't just totally off the wall about cartoons or something like that, right?
I think you're probably right. And like the thing that maybe turned me off to it at the time was like, this is different, and I want them to be the same. And I was like, now that they're successful, they changed, and I don't like that. And looking at it now as an adult, I can be like, okay, I can appreciate what they're doing. I like these songs, and like they, are growing as musicians, trying something new. And like I said, I think I was did it at a disservice last time to not included in the discussion. If anything, I think it was maybe more worth discussing than their first album, which I don't even think we really had that much to say about. It was like,
it was very raw. It was the Cheshire Cat of So Cheshire Cat was Blink-182's first album, which is just like super raw, not great vocals, not great production. And I kind of felt the same thing with Relient K's first thing. There were some interesting things, but still not really fully formed yet. It's like season 1 of The Simpsons, right? So next is Forget and Not Slow Down.
So let's do real quick, Mike. Recommend yes or no 5 Score and 7 Years Ago.
Yeah, thumbs up. Throw it in the rotation. It's a solid album.
Thumbs up from me. All right. So next one, Forget and Not Slow Down. I believe this came out in 2009.
That's correct. Yep, I'm looking at it.
So I did not have this album. I had not heard any songs from this album until I went to the concert and they played them live. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I really, really enjoy the title track, Forget and Not So Down. Mm-hmm. When I left the concert, that song stuck with me, and I went and I added it on Spotify, and I've been listening to it, periodically. Every once in a while I'll come back to it, or it'll come on and shuffle, and I've been enjoying it. So I really, really like that song a lot. Mm-hmm. The other songs that I have written down that I enjoyed from it are I Don't Need a Soul, Sahara, and Therapy.
So one interesting review that I read about this as I was, going back and trying to revisit them, I didn't get this at first, maybe when I had casually listened to it, but I supposedly it thematically follows like the 5 stages of grief. So that's kind of why, Therapy was in there, for example, just to kind of put a bookend on everything. But it was kind of interesting seeing that in context, because it's not so obvious maybe from the titles, but just thematically it's kind of divided up into sections, which I thought was kind of an interesting take. I don't know if it was intentional to be that, in your face, but I can see it. I don't think the reviewer was totally full of crap when they said something like that. So it's a good idea.
Yeah. But yeah, coming back and like listening to this, like I said, this new album, like new to me, because I had not listened to it at the time. I enjoyed it, and I think that it was still had a lot of like the Relient K hallmarks that I really enjoyed. Yeah. I liked this album too. I would give this one a thumbs up as well.
Yeah. I would give it a thumbs up too. I think it's, more of a departure from the sound, a little more emotional and honest.
I'll agree with that. And like I said, I think I appreciate that more as an adult, and I don't know that listening to it as an 18 or 19-year-old at the time when it came out that I would have just been like, this isn't Be My Escape. This isn't Sadie Hawkins Dance. I don't like this.
Yeah, there's the element of the fun factor, I guess, that I always associated with them. And it was just hard for me to shake it, for better or for worse. This was not really a fun record necessarily in the same way that it was. And Forget and Not Slow Down versus 5 Score. 5 Score even has a little bit of levity in it. Yeah. And I feel like that small amount is even toned down further. Did you get that from that album?
Yeah, what I would say is like maybe not like the lyrical content of the songs is maybe not fun, but I think some of the instrumentation and like the music itself is still like that, kind of upbeat pop punk sound, like especially like the musical part of Forget and Not Slow Down, like just that I think is really like that has a lot of energy to it, I think, which is like that's kind of one of the things like I associate with Relient K is like their songs have a lot of energy.
High energy, definitely.
And so
Cool. So Collapsible Lung, this was the recommendation from our guest that you heard earlier.
Yes.
From Mandy, who considers this the magnum opus of the newest Relient K. So thoughts on that, Jared?
I did not care for it. Mandy and I are gonna diverge here, I guess. There were songs on it that I did enjoy, but like as a whole, in general, I was just like, don't really care for it. This of the 4 albums we listened to, this one was my least favorite. Yeah. I don't know that I would say that I like dislike it, but it's definitely like the songs that I did like on it. I like the song Boomerang. I like the song Lost Boy. And I liked PTL, which
Yeah.
I for sure thought was Praise the Lord, because that was always what I used that abbreviation to
Yeah,
mean.
I think that's intentional. You know what I
I
mean?
think so too. But like I said, I wasn't prepared for it. I was like, all right, PTL, here we go. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. So one thing that took me like by surprise, having never really listened to this album before,
Yeah.
was like he seemed a little bit angsty in this, which is not really what I expected to get from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean angsty in not a way that he's maybe contemplative, but
Yeah.
angsty in a way that I just found a little bit juvenile. And maybe this was the time of his breakup. I don't really know exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like the song Gloria, where he talks about like, I guess it's love when you're going through my phone. Like, I get it, you know, what you're trying to say, but it just seems a little bit juvenile for this to be one of your maturing records. I get that
Yeah.
it's somewhat honest or whatever, but it just seemed like a little bit spiteful, which was,
Yeah.
you know, I found it annoying and not like, oh, I'm interested in this. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
the lyrics on this album were something else on some of the songs.
Yeah, I just, you know, same thing with Can't Complain.
Yeah.
You know, again, it was a song that I felt like some of these tracks were made to be in an iPhone commercial, at least instrumentally to me, in that there's the processed drum beat. You know, it kind of is a sing-songy thing, but it doesn't really stick with you as much as like a big pop song, right? I feel like they're kind of emulating it was a pop record, in my opinion, right? It was very commercial indie pop, but commercial indie pop in a way that it's probably a good background placement track and nothing that like grabs you as like, wow, this is a mega hit, right? There were no Call Me Maybes on this record, but the instrumentation was similar. So it's like Call Me Maybe without the hook, which is just like a good beat, but you know, give me something that is going to get stuck in my head. That's kind of how I felt about a few of these songs.
The one lyric that when I was listening to it, I was like, wait, what? It's from the song Disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, baby, you look so sexy. So what do I do when we get home from church and the baby is in her room sleeping or watching a movie? You get closer to me. Oh, this has disaster written all over it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I heard that, I was just like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like something. I get it, you know, they're going in different directions, but it was super weird.
Yeah.
I get that it's supposed to be, you know, interesting and hey, listen, you do your thing, write about what you want. But I just found it to be not the most interesting. And honestly, even the song that you liked, Jared, like Boomerang, let's be honest, like that probably was a song that you should have written for a pop star and not kept it for yourself. I just feel like that would be better with like a Kesha over it. You know what I mean? That's just to me.
If he would have thrown it to his ex-girlfriend, Katy Perry.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I think it would have been good because, you know, most of those songs are sort of built around the gimmick of you're going to hear me roar or, you know, our love is like my drug, you know, for example, which is what I thought, which is why I brought up Kesha, right? Because it's like your love is like a boomerang. It's a very simple simile or metaphor, and
so
it's like not super clever, but it gets stuck in your head. So give that crap to Kesha. She would kill it with the remix. Don't hoard it for yourself.
Potentially unpopular opinion here that we do not care for this album that Mandy said is the fan favorite. So sorry,
also,
apologies. It was like I said, it was fine. But I was not. You know, it was not anything to write home about.
For me, it's slightly less than I do want to say that it just felt very, to me, I was interested and intrigued, I guess, by them trying to be drastically different, but I just felt like musically, I wasn't interested in
it. Was like a step.
All.
It was like a step backward to me. It I don't know. Just it wasn't to my taste, and I think, I mean, I don't know. I think the next album, so the next one, the last one, this one came out in 2016. I think Collapsible Lung, I think it was 2013 or 2012.
2013.
So Air for Free, I think it is like a return to form, I guess, is the way that I looked at it, because I did enjoy a lot of the songs on this album. The ones that I have in particular that I really liked, Bummin', Local Construction, I thought was a cute little song. Being from Northeast Ohio, Mrs. Hippopotamuses,
the Ohio song, the Brown song.
Yeah, I'm sure most people probably don't care for that song, but I love it. It's great.
That was written for the Browns, right? Like that was like a commercial.
So
endeavor.
I don't know if I think a lot of this song is like stuff from growing up in Ohio, like Here We Go Brownies is like the thing that they'll chant at the Browns game. That's part of it. OHIO is the thing that Ohio State chants. My wife told me that it's like summertime's 45 minutes away, I guess. She said that was like a commercial that they would play for like Cedar Point on TV and like the Cleveland area, because like that's like how long it takes to drive to Cedar Point roughly from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that was like their slogan is summertime's 45 minutes away. And so I think that it's like a lot of, stuff. Really the only big thing they didn't get is Cleveland Rocks in there from the Drew Carey show. But
there's just so much you can do, good for them. They always paid their dues with Sunny and Ohio 75 in my view. So if they never did an Ohio reference again, I'd be fine with it.
This is the fun song, right? This is like the return to form. Here's the fun song. Here it is.
So speaking of fun songs, before we get too far into this album, I did want to bring up, there was a fun song on Collapsible Lung that's actually not on Spotify, but it's technically a bonus track, and it was the fun song from that album. So it was called That's My Jam, and that it basically is kind of like a clever wordplay doing all the bands from the 90s, which I thought it was kind of interesting.
I'll have to check it out, because I like I said, if it wasn't on Spotify, I didn't hear it. So I'm going to have to go maybe check that out on YouTube. Maybe that'll bump my opinion of that album up just a little bit.
Yeah, it's Relient K featuring Owl City, and basically it's a contest to see how many band names they can cram into one song from, everything. It's pretty good. They name drop a lot of bands that I think were pretty interesting. So just with, it's stuff like Smashing Pumpkins, U2, I mean, Blessed Union of Souls, Collective Soul, like
do they get Spice Girls in there?
I don't think they get Spice Girls on there, but they do get Jewel, 98 Degrees, Eve 6. Like, they just throw it in there somewhat unexpectedly. It's kind of like a rap song. Almost. It's not a rap song, but it reminds me of that wordplay that you would use in a rap song, or at least in a bar. So anyways, I just want to say that had a fun track.
Yeah.
It fits. That's Hippopotamus is also an appropriate fun track.
And then the other songs I enjoyed, I enjoyed a lot of these songs, but just the ones that are kind of sticking out. So Bummin', Local Construction, Miss Hippopotamus, Air for Free, and then God. And I thought that one was really, really interesting. It was more of like a serious song and a more kind of like overtly Christian, which they kind of hadn't done for a while, I don't think, which it was interesting. I liked it. And like for this album, again, I would give this one a thumbs up. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. I just wanted to call out one interesting thing too.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the titles of these tracks and how it was organized, it feels like it's the anti-Fall Out Boy album, because we have God, Cat, Man, Flower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you just have these one-word things. Yeah. And there's a few songs also that are just like the apostrophe, like Bummin', for example.
Yeah.
They end in apostrophe, and I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting. Sleepin' was the other one I was thinking of, Bummin' and Sleepin'. So they both have the IN apostrophe. It was just a very interesting, from the creative standpoint, for everything that Relient K has done before, their titles are usually pretty wordy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about The Only Thing Worse Than Beating a Dead Horse, that song, but they usually have a phrase for those things. Which
it's usually 5 or 6 words, or like a short little phrase or whatever, and not just one word.
Right. But God, and that's, again, that's part of something interesting where it somewhat defies your expectations from them. But overall, I think it did feel like them. I can't say that this album, if I heard this first, I can't say I would be the fan of the band. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be.
No, I think that's fair. I think it's something that like, I enjoy because I know some of their previous work, but if it was maybe the first thing I ever heard, maybe I wouldn't be, I wouldn't seek out more.
Yeah. If this was the first album I heard, I would maybe go to their concert, but I wouldn't be busting out the door. But if my first album was or Two Lefts, I'd be like, okay, this is going to be great. I know what to expect. Do you feel the same way?
I think that's pretty fair. Like I said, I think that it's a good album, but I think it builds upon a lot of like their previous stuff. Like I said, I think it was maybe like a return to form, at least in my opinion, of like the things that I like about them as a band. But yeah, it was an enjoyable album. I liked it. I give it a thumbs up.
All right, I will give it I'll save this for my side thumb.
You're gonna be like the emperor. You're not sure if you're gonna go.
I'm still not sure because for that reason, to me, for it to get a thumbs up, it's going to be something that I have reason to come back to in the near future, and I can't see myself really coming back to that in a given circumstance. Like, oh, I really feel like listening to this today. I'll probably pick a few songs, but maybe not the album.
Yeah, I mean that's probably fair. Like I said, since hearing some of those songs be performed live, I've listened to Bummin' quite a bit and Mrs. Hippopotamuses. The other ones, not quite so much, but those two in particular really, kind of stuck with me, and I've been enjoying them.
Yep.
All right, so I think we're ready to kind of wind things down here because we've already got, a whole episode that we're tacking this on to the end of. But any final thoughts here, Mike?
No, happy podcast anniversary, Jared. It's been a fun run so far. This will be episode number 21, which is pretty crazy. We've been at this for a year. So
more
than a year.
Yeah.
So good times had by all. If you want to hear more content about things like this, if you want us to do deeper dives, I just feel like there's a lot to unpack, and we just don't want to be the Wikipedia readers for these bands. We really want to tie it in with something that's maybe personal or at least more experiential than just the surface level. So we thought this one was worth a deep dive. It remains to be seen. We'll listen to the audience as to whether or not we want to dive deep into, for example, the salty universe.
I definitely think this was worth a revisit to give them their due and appreciate all of their old albums and their new albums, and if this is something that people like, if people like like a revisit after a year or something, like we could maybe go and do that for some things, like do another episode of Bible Man or Salty or whatever it is, but. You'll let us know what you think about this, this format or whatever. And Mike, where could they do that? Where would they go if they want to tell us about this stuff?
Well, they can go online to do that. At YG. You thought I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know these. You always do this part.
So at YG Reunion Tour, if you're on Twitter, at Youth Group Reunion Tour on Instagram, and you can check out our Yat page with links to everything else, including the fan-run Discord, which is a great place to hang out and post your favorite Christian memes in at y.at/, these are all emojis, cool, church, raised hands, guitar. And so just type those 4 emojis into your browser if you have Opera, or y.at/ those 4 emojis, and all the links will be there.
All right, sweet. And so, Mike, we are recording virtually today, so there's no chance.
Pressure. Okay.
There's no chance that we're going to be able to do this.
I'm going to close my eyes so I don't watch you. Okay.
Okay. So, you want to try and do it at the same time, or do we want to just let one of us do it?
No, let's try it at the same time. I'm closing my eyes, so the lag is not going to be bad. It's not going to be mixed up.
Okay.
But we're going to do it in like one count. So it's like catch on the flip side, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So, do you want me to start it?
Yeah, you started.
Okay. Until next time, we'll catch
Catch
you
ya
on the flip side. Yeah, it was close.
You went kind of slower.
I
What's
went
the deal?
slower. Okay, you do it.
Okay.
You
All right.
start it. Okay. I'm
Finally.
going to close my
Close
eyes.
your eyes.
Okay.
Our eyes are
Okay.
both closed.
Okay.
No one's looking around.
Yeah. All heads bowed.
Yeah.
Eyes
All heads
closed.
bowed. All right.
Eyes closed.
Do this with us, guests. So with that, we'll catch you
Catch ya
on the
flip side.
Nope, too
We
hard
did it.
remotely.
Oh, I think we did it that time.
Was that good?
It sounded good on my end.
All right, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
We'll catch you on the flip side.